Hello and welcome to your Project 2 video. What I'm going to do is sort of quickly go over some images and some examples of what I have in mind for this project. The crux of the project is sort of a two-parter. If line and shape were sort of Project 1, color and texture are Project 2. The idea behind this is using these formal elements, using these elements of design to sort of specifically engage them in photographs. Now, the first thing I'm going to start with here is color. Color can mean a lot of things. I think in the assignment I say color has the ability to sort of is one of the more emotive elements in photography. Color is something we notice. It's something we notice if in this case it's lacking. I want you to sort of think of color in a couple different ways. One is, in this case, this is a photographer named Andreas Gursky. We sort of have almost a lack of color. The only color really we see is sort of a slaty sort of green down there in the bottom. It adds to the sort of misty quality of this, the monochromatic quality of this, the sort of gloomy quality of this image actually. So color doesn't necessarily have to mean bright, pretty flowers, but it can mean something totally different and something totally opposite. This next photographer is a photographer named Edward Burtynsky. He's going to be one of our photographers that we watch later, or we study later. The first thing that likely you notice in this image is the color yellow. This is a photograph of a factory where the workers, which sort of represent everything, the sort of thousands of people or hundreds of people moving back into space, with the actual sort of building, which is the same color. That's not a coincidence that those two are sort of related in the visual sense there. This is also Edward Burtynsky. He photographs what he calls environmental incursions. This, I believe, is a nickel runoff. So the sort of acidic nature, the sort of unrealistic nature, really sort of matches why and how he photographs these things. That doesn't quite look right. There's actually something also strangely enticing or interesting to sort of look at that. That color is so vibrant, so bright up against this sort of, again, monochromatic background. The fact that this is sort of charred and black and very sort of desolate up against this really sort of strange orange really sort of makes one notice that. So color as it's almost as a subject matter. A couple more here. This sort of slaty, again, very sort of white, brown up against this very, very what I call acidic green. Okay, it looks unnatural. This is sort of this is a mine. This is also Edward Burtynsky. And then last but not least, this is a photographer named Todd Hito. The color is very drab, sort of yellow, not quite, almost the opposite of the vibrancy of some of the photographs we've been looking up to this point. This is another Todd Hito. So, color as a real, again, it adds emotive qualities, meaning sort of emotional qualities. We can sort of feel the cold, we can feel the desolate nature of an image like this because it's sort of juxtaposed against the warmth of this sort of house coming out here. Okay, we can sort of feel the sort of unnatural aspect of this green and of this orange because of its surrounding areas. What we're going to look at next quickly is texture. Texture is a little more straightforward in terms of, there's really texture everywhere. A lot of these images I'm going to show you sort of have to do are very sort of flat surfaces, meaning we're sort of looking at something that looks like almost it could be a painting. This image right here. This image which we looked at, I believe, when we looked at line, the sort of textural elements of this sort of spot right here is quite evident. This is a photographer named Aaron Siskind. Again, sort of flat surfaces. There's textural things everywhere. There's natural textures, there's synthetic textures. Putting these things next to each other could be very, very interesting. Let's see here. Very, very simple composition. This is a car hood. So we have a natural texture of these raindrops up against the sort of man-made textures. I'm going through here. This image, which we just looked at in color, very relevant in terms of texture. Okay. So think of these two elements. Again, you're taking 50 images of texture, 50 images of color. One thing to note, when you import these into Lightroom, make sure you add the keyword. Remember, sort of during the apply, during import, make sure you add project 2 as a keyword to that. Okay, it's going to become useful when you go to make your collection or when you sort of just want to deal with your project 2 images. Okay. Any questions, please email me. Otherwise, hope to see some 100 images by next week.